state your name, please, like your first and last?
Erna Mrkaljevic.
And how old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
And where are you from?
I am from Jacksonville, Florida.
And what's her name?
This is Nala Coleman.
How old is she?
She's 4 years old.
How did you first come about finding out Nala's condition?
So she was having a fever on and off for a week and a half, and then after the fever, she started being tired more than usual, and her teacher started complaining that she was dragging herself all over the floor. And at first I thought they were being a little extreme, but then she started sending me pictures, and it was summer, so they had a summer camp going on, and the thing about Nala is she loves water. And when her teacher told me that she didn't want to play in the water, that was a huge concern to me because I know her love for water. So I took her to the pediatrician, and they put diagnoses of all types on her, from an ear infection to a viral infection to strep throat. Anything you can think of, they put on it just because they have to put a diagnosis on it. And I just felt in my heart something wasn't right. So we took her to the ER because the fevers were getting higher and higher. And 103.5, that was it for me. You know, I took her in, and the doctors in the ER, they still told me that it was just a viral infection. So they even threw away my blood orders that the pediatrician wrote for her. And they said to just disregard that it'll, you know, they said it'll take its toll, you know, it just has to run through its cycles, the virus. So I went ahead and asked again for the orders, and I took her to an outpatient lab, and that's when they found out that it was, they first told me that it was a heart condition, and being that she has Down syndrome, that's scary enough because she was born with ASD and PDA, so I thought that something had happened worse with her heart. And by the time we got to the ER, you know, they had everything waiting for us, and in a matter of hours, it was leukemia.
So what happened was you had to go get a second opinion, kind of, or?
Yeah, and not just a second, I'd say third, fourth, fifth, because every doctor literally brushed us off, and they made me feel like I was crazy. Like one doctor was like, "Mom, you're imagining things. You're making up diagnoses." And when I found out about her Down syndrome, I did a lot of research to begin with, you know, because it was a surprise. We didn't know during my pregnancy that she had Down syndrome. So of course, you know, I educated myself as much as I can. And I knew about the increased risks of leukemia. Her first pediatrician, he was very open about that. And this pediatrician that we moved to, they weren't as open about the fact that leukemia is very common in kids with Down syndrome, adults, and, you know, anybody with Down syndrome. So I kind of always had that in the back of my head, but you never want to think that your child has cancer. So even when they told me, to this day, I still can't believe it, that she has cancer, but it did. That was our reality, and it was a nightmare, but, you know, she's rocking it. She really is.
I know you're also a student. How did you combat, or actually juggle, both these situations? Because I know you were also getting good grades in school, on top of all this other things you have to deal with Nala in the hospital. So how was that, how were you able to do all of that at once?
To this day, I have no clue. I mean, you become like this superwoman once this, you know, gets handed to you. And even to this day, I'm almost done with my associate's degree, and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. You know, it's just, I was working full time beforehand, so that, you know, kind of emptied a lot of space and time, but at the same time, we were at the hospital. So I think the nurses, they were really great because they could tell when I was stressed, so they would kind of come in more and interact more. And then I could easily tell them or the child life specialist that, hey, you know, I need somebody to sit with her and just play around while I do homework. But I don't know, I always felt a little bit selfish in that way. So I would literally just bring my laptop to the hospital and kind of just make it work. I know most of my stuff, like that I had to make speeches because I was taking a speech class. I made all my speeches about cancer, and I don't know if that inspired my professors or what, because they loved it. They loved these speeches. They actually asked to share them, you know, with other students, which I had no problem with. But I wanted to educate people as much about cancer because you don't know until it rocks your world. So somehow I made it work, and thankfully still with good grades. So I don't know how, I really couldn't answer that, but I became Superwoman.
That's so inspiring.
Thank you.